ken. So, sounds like your namesake, but it's actually waribiki ken means coupon.
All right.
Yeah, it's literally, like I said, like percentage discount ticket. That's pretty much what it breaks down to if you look at the kanji for it. So, 明日の宿題は何枚ありますか? Oh, interesting. So how many like sheets of homework are there? That's assuming like worksheet handout type.
Yeah.
宿題. Okay, and then
I tried.
チェカスの割引券が1枚あります。チェカス?
Checkers.
Oh,
I tried.
okay.
Check.
Okay.
I would just say
Checkers.
checkers.
Okay.
Checkers. Cur.
Okay.
Care.
I would do a small two there.
Okay.
Checkers.
Check. Oh yeah, check. Oh, I didn't even.
And then a zoo. Checkers.
Checkers.
Yeah.
Whatever. I don't know why.
It's okay. Yo, that was
Yeah.
a good guess. It was a good start.
Yeah. Okay.
The,
I don't know
The
why I meant
art
to do
of-
zoo. I
yeah.
didn't do. I wouldn't have
Yeah.
done the
yeah.
this.
The art of converting English words into katakana when there's not a pre-existing term takes practice. So it's great that you're attempting it and you were very close.
Does the common mean too small?
The small two is common whenever you want to like shift the emphasis. Without the small two there, it goes to chekazu, chekazu.
Checkers.
But chekazu makes more of an emphasis on the check, which, since in English checkers, the emphasis is on the first syllable, that's a way to get that shift and get the emphasis to that first syllable, because it doesn't occur naturally that way in
English.
Japanese words of a certain length, right?
How would you say I have a coupon, or I guess that would be kind of weird. Would you drop the long vowel in the kazu part?
Not necessarily chekazu,
Chekazu.
because
Chekazu.
the long
Chekazu.
ah is a good replacement for R
Okay.
sounds in
Yeah, that's-
English. And R and or kinds of sounds usually convert to ah.
Okay.
I tell people to think of it like a Boston accent. You know, Boston, they'd say park your car, right?
Okay.
So, and that's how it comes out, parku. If you're talking about like parking a car, parku and ka both come out with long vowel
Okay.
pause in katakana. So that's a way to think about it.
What's the point of changing those, making it like a zoo instead of sue?
If you listen to the way you pronounce checkers, it usually
Okay.
sounds more like a Z sound than an S sound.
Checkers. Checkers.
Checkers. I mean,
That's how I
most
say
people, it's somewhere between an S and a Z because it's
Okay.
spelled with an S, but we really kind of pronounce it closer to a Z in American English.
If you were
know.
trying to get a Japanese person to say it,
Yeah,
like
because
we would say it.
chekasu sounds odd
Yeah.
to me.
Checkers.
Chekasu
Yeah.
versus chekasu.
Imagine a Japanese person
Okay,
trying to
yeah.
say it, and then it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Checkers sounds weird.
Yeah, so, yeah, but any kind of proper noun like that that you're trying to put into katakana is always a challenge, so it's always good to practice and play around with it. And the trick to it is say it out loud the way you're spelling it, and think about where does it not sound as close as it could to what I'm trying to translate. And then you can find ways to tweak it. Usually small two and extended vowels come into play to help compensate for some of the things that katakana just can't do otherwise from English. And then of course the special combinations like che also become really important. But yeah, taking stuff from English into katakana is something that takes a lot of practice to get comfortable with. A good useful tool is to look for lots of katakana words to read and decipher. So for example, we live in a tourist mecca, right? So the next time you're in a place that has tourism brochures, look for the ones printed in Japanese for the Japanese tourists and take one of those. So if you're at Disney, Kennedy Space Center, any of those kinds of places, they have Japanese language brochures usually. Pick one of those up. Maybe pick up the English one if you feel like you need an answer key, and see if you can decipher the katakana words that are peppered all over that brochure. I mean, think about even the place names. Disney World, Kennedy Space Center. You know, it's all katakana everywhere.
I found
There's more katakana than kanji on those things a lot of the time.
just like this week, I found this list on, actually looked on Tofugu and I saw it on there. There's like this list, it was on Wikipedia, of like all these different katakana words the Japanese takes from like different languages. So there was like a bunch of English words, occasional like German or like other things too, but a lot
There's
of English.
smaller percentages of various other European and Eastern languages. You know, they've got katakana words from Indian and, you know, from Hindi or whatever as well sometimes, but generally, they've got, the vast majority of them are coming from English.
Yeah, there's just like this big list that had like ones that they commonly use.
Yeah,
Like, in
so,
the
and
language.
some of them you already know, some of them you can guess or figure out pretty easily, and then there are some of them, they're like, what?
I like for stroller they use baby ka.
Yeah. Yeah, some of them are just fun, you
Oh
know?
my gosh, corn dog,
Yeah.
American dog,
Yeah.
Oh,
like that.
yeah.
Like big American dog, something like that.
That's funny. Yeah, because that is such an American thing, to think about putting a hot dog on a stick and dipping
Corn
it in
batter.
corn batter and deep frying it, you know? Deep fried something on a stick is very much an American thing.
Yeah, I go out grocery shopping and
So-
stuff, and then I just kind of like grab whatever I find, like what the heck, and like I'll find the weirdest things. Like I went to Orlando and I found like
Guys, let's get back on topic,
Okay.
please. We'll save that conversation for after. So, 今日は切符を5枚買いました。That works. 切手が40枚あります。That works. 私は切符を2枚あります。What do we need to shift there? What needs to be fixed? Anybody?
Needs to be God, doesn't it?
Yes. Got instead of
Oh,
お。Okay?
There's
私は切符が2枚あります。And the tricky part obviously is because the direct object or whatever noun is separated from its verb by the number plus measure word, it gets tricky to remember which particle really belongs there, but it does have to agree with the verb still, even though there's that separation. Right?
Would wariki ten no, excuse me. It would be ice cream no waribiki
Can.
ken. Would that be appropriate? Would that be like
Ice- yeah.
coupon of ice cream or coupon
Yeah,
for ice
an
cream?
ice cream coupon, yeah.
Okay.
Ice cream, no.
I almost said,
The other way
flip
around.
or, you know,
Yeah.
just, I laughed,
No.
like that sounds silly.
Okay. いいですか？次、手フォームについて話しましょう。いいですか？
There's you still got the marker from.
I don't know.
what do you?
I'm not, just
Can we do record
klepto,
this?
maybe.
This is already recording.
Excellent.
That's one reason I stopped the tangent.
I'm not, because I'll end up marking the screen.
Okay. いいですか？見えますか？まだありませんか？ Oh, before we actually get started on Teform, let's do a very fast run through preview of the vocab. We're not going to do the 3x3 today, we're just going to do it quickly. And the morning class had the suggestion of doing the vocab first before the kanji, because some of the kanji are also in the vocab list, so it helps. So, start from here.
Oh.
Hi, hontou desu ka? Is that true? Really? Something like that. Sugu. Sugu is like right away, very soon. So, sugu ikimasu would be I'm coming right away. I'm going right away. Okay?
Would it be like a confirmation of, that you're given an order with sugu?
By itself, no. Okay. Kekkou desu means that is fine or that is acceptable, but it has two different contexts that are practically polar opposites. One is if somebody's trying to push more food or drink on you and you've really had enough, you don't want more, kekkou desu, I'm fine. The other is kind of the opposite. If somebody's asking, is it okay if I do such and such? Do you mind if we do this? Kekkou desu can be, yeah, sure, that's okay with me. So they're really like almost opposite meanings, but it is based on context. It'll make sense in context more often than
Seems
not.
like if you're worried about it, just don't use it.
Well, it's a polite way to say, I'm fine, basically. So, I'm fine could be, no, I'm fine, please don't give me a fourth helping of sushi, or it could be, oh, is it okay if I do such and such? Yeah, sure, that's fine.
Slightly off topic, what would a helping of sushi be? For me, it's like a plate of just sushi.
Honestly, I don't know. However
Okay.
much normally comes on a,
I think
You know.
it just depends where you go.
Okay,
yeah,
okay, sorry, back to
yeah.
it. So, kara,
Kara. It can be from, but in this case, in this chapter, they're teaching the because structure, which in the grammar structure they're actually teaching in this chapter. I find that translating as that's why actually works better for a lot of people, because what we're doing is we're going to be saying, like, I'm doing X, Y, Z, and then stating the reason, and kara goes on the end of that second sentence. So it's like, 今日コートを持っていきます。I'm going to bring my coat. 寒いですから because it's cold. Okay, so that's an explanation of kara. 持ってくる Yes, to bring something. The motte part is the te form of motsu, to hold or to carry. Okay? Kuru, you know. The verb kuru means to come, right? So if I'm holding this and coming, I'm bringing it. Make sense? So motte kuru is specific to things, objects, not people. Okay, so if you're bringing a friend, this is not the verb you're going to use. This is for bringing an object. Okay, so hono motte kuru, things like that. Surete kuru is for people. Sureru is the root verb of surete. And sureru means to accompany, as in to go with someone. So surete kuru means you're bringing a person with you. Okay, it's the same kuru, come, right? So let's say you're going to a party and your friend says, 友達を連れてきますか? Are you bringing a friend? Right? So 友達を連れてくる or,
could that be used for like,
妹を連れてくる or whatever.
bringing the prisoner, or I'm transporting the prisoner or something?
Possibly.
Okay.
I like the term, but.
Yeah. It generally means accompanying the person,
Okay.
I've mostly heard it in the context of doing something voluntarily.
Okay.
I don't really know offhand about,
Against your
prisoner,
will? or-
yeah,
okay.
prisoners being taken off to jail or whatever. That's something you would have to look for in context.
忘れる。
はい to forget. はい忘れる。はい
電話をかける。
はい
To call.
to call, to make a phone call. はい電話をかける。はい
Is かける
Oh,
電話をかける like
Yeah, kakeru by itself is a verb that actually has more than one usage, but its root meaning is to hang, like to hang on the wall. So if you think about old-fashioned, like 1920s telephone that's hung on the wall, maybe that's where the root came from. I don't know for sure.
Shawa o aberu.
Abiru, yeah, to take a shower. Yes. So shawa you can kind of figure out, right?
So would that be, not, that's not colloquial with bathing? Or would it be?
No, they're two separate things. Shawa o abiru is literally to take a shower, as opposed to taking a bath. They're
Okay.
two separate phrases. Tsukeru, to turn on. So for example, denki o tsukeru. Denki is an electrical light. Denki o tsukeru. Right. Tabako o su. Tabako is Japanese for cigarettes.
And
Okay.
he uses hiragana, that's interesting.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? It's one of the few loan words that is still frequently written in hiragana, although katakana is equally acceptable.
Has it just been available long enough?
It's been in the language for so long, it predates that idea that we should write loan words in katakana and other words in hiragana. They used to be more interchangeable and mix and match than they are now.
So if you were like smoking something else, use a different word than otsu?
Yeah, yeah, so, siga o su,
Hookah,
yeah, or,
and
other
hookah already
things that,
sounds Japanese.
yeah, other things that we won't get into.
Not in Colorado.
Yeah,
Not
right.
Colorado.
Tatsu is to stand. Hai, tatsu, to stand. Tachimasu. Tatsu, tachimasu. Hai, that goes back to somebody's
Enter a bath?
previous. This, ofuro ni hairu is to enter the bath, to take a bath. So it's, the verb is literally enter, but it implies the whole bathing process. So ofuro ni hairu is more normal in Japan than shawa o abiru. If you say shawa o abiru, it's very specific that all you're going to do is get in the shower, and you're not going to soak in the tub afterwards. If you say ofuro ni hairu, it implies the whole traditional Japanese process where you first get yourself clean in the shower side of the shower bathing room, and then you get into the tub and soak in the hot water for a while to relax your muscles.
Would you use shimas for the act of taking
No.
a shower?
No, shawa o abiru. That's the special word that we just had. And then,
I thought you said that was just for entering the shower.
no, hairu means to enter, as in to enter the bath.
Sorry, I
But
got confused.
it's-
Okay,
Yeah,
I didn't notice the difference.
yeah. So shawa o abiru is to take a shower. Ofuro ni hairu is to take a bath. Hai.
If you were gonna bathe in a lake or the ocean, what would you use?
That's more like swimming,
Okay.
yeah. I don't know of anybody in Japan who actually brings their soap with them and bathes in the lake
Are
out in
the,
the
like,
open.
are the public bathhouses available to homeless people there, or do you need like some?
Well, it costs to get in,
Okay.
so I guess it depends on whether or not they have the cash.
大変な
Taihen na,
tough situation.
yeah, tough. Taihen na, it's a na adjective, obviously, and it's tough in the sense of difficult or challenging situation, okay? So it's similar to muzakashi, but not exactly the same. You, 試験は大変でした. You can use it to describe that the test was difficult, but you wouldn't necessarily use it for describing, say, a textbook. You could say, この教科書は難しいです。The textbook is difficult, but you wouldn't necessarily use 大変 for the textbook, I don't think.
So it's kind of like an ordeal.
Yeah, that's a pretty good word for it,
So
ordeal.
what if
大変な。
say you're like playing a video game and it's difficult, which one would you use?
Either, probably. And also 大変 gets used as an exclamation more frequently.
Okay.
So if,
Like tying
like 大変です, or just like, you're playing your video game and your little avatar or whatever gets killed for the 50th time and you're really annoyed at the whole situation. 大変, you know.
I think it would be used when you're like cornered with a mob in your face and you can't get out.
大変, yeah.
And then like
Yeah.
Mizukashi is like when you can't beat that level and you've tried it like 100 times.
Right, yeah. So that's a good illustration of the difference. So 大変 can be used as an exclamation. Oh no, I'm in a tough situation here. I'm in a tough spot. I'm getting attacked by 50 ogres at once or whatever.
You play WoW.
Actually,
No, I don't play anything. I'm just coming up with random
Okay.
examples.
that's exactly.
Yeah, I don't have time for video games.
Good for you.
Dainen.
Dainen. Okay, here's another one where the breakdown is helpful for learning it because rai is the same kanji as kuru, to come. So it's the coming year. Okay, nen is the same nen from ichinensei. Remember that one?
Okay.
From way back, first
Way back.
semester, first chapter. So ichinensei, ninensei was first year student, second year student, right? Rainen, coming year, so next year, rainen. And raishu, same rai, coming. Shu means week. So raishu, coming week, next week. Yeah, shumatsu, it's the same shu from shumatsu.
Senshu.
And senshu, which was the previous week, yeah.
So
Yeah.
what, is there sennen from last year, or is there?
They don't use that, probably because it sounds too much like a homophone for 1,000 years.
Oh, understandable. Okay.
Yeah, so instead they use kyonen, which means the year that's gone. Yeah, the kyo in kyonen is kanji that means to go or to be passed. So,
Yoru.
yoru, night, yeah.
Terebi.
Well, we were just talking about a minute ago, video games, terebi game.
Myo.
Yeah, Shimin Byoin is a municipal hospital, yeah, so,
What does municipal mean? I totally
City.
forgot. Okay.
yeah, so shi is city, min is like people of, like the citizens. So Shimin Byoin is kind of like the city's citizen hospital,
So could
Shimin
you
Byoin.
like machi mean? Would that be
It's a
acceptable?
different kanji
Okay.
than shi, and they don't use it that way.
City?
Shi is the kanji for city. If it's the kanji that I think it is.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Oh, here it is.
Yep, Shimin-byoin, yeah. That kanji, if you pick out the kanji there, the shi in that context is the kanji for city. And if you have like an address, for example, the city name comes first, and then you can put shi on as a suffix to indicate that that is a city of a certain size. In an address, it's actually a technical term where there's a top and bottom cutoff. If it's bigger than a certain size, there's a different term. If it's smaller than a certain size, it goes to machi.
Oh no, with big spans, it must ruin everything.
I think it's a fairly broad category. I think there are only like 3 cities in all of Japan that qualify for something larger than shi. I think you have to be well into the millions to qualify for something other than shi.
Tokyo and Osaka.
Tokyo, Osaka, and I want to say that Kyoto has a different term but for historic reasons, because it's a special historical place because of its history of being the longest official capital. because even after
It's like
the
Does it change recently?
Bakufu
Because
was,
when I was a kid, I remember people saying Kyoto was the capital of Japan. That's how I grew up learning.
hundreds of years ago, I mean, the emperor officially moved from Kyoto to Tokyo in, let me think, 1868-ish?
Then I want to know
How long ago
where
were
that
you
information
there?
came from, because I could have sworn until I started this class, math class,
Yeah,
that Kyoto was the capital of Japan.
people were confused on their history.
So is Kyoto kind of like St. Augustine to us?
For Floridians, perhaps, yeah.
Like,
Yeah, for Japanese people, it's probably closer to like, I don't know.
Like the old White House location?
I didn't know there was an old
There's
one.
not a good equivalent, really. Kyoto was the capital of Japan from the time it moved from Nara to Kyoto, which was, I believe, 890
Yeah,
something.
so it's just way too old.
And all the way up through the mid-1800s. So it was the capital of Japan for close to 1,000 years. Yeah, so. And I believe it was that same palace, pretty much continuously occupied and probably continuously under repair at some place or other for about 1,000 years.
At least
So,
they kept the Japanese
anyway.
Honshu.
Honshu, again, the shu is the same shu from Raishu and Shumatsu. The kon is the same kon from konbanwa and konnichiwa, and it's the same kanji as ima. So it means literally this week, now week. Ima is now, right? It's the same kanji, so this week. Okay, so those are useful ones. Shidi. I don't think anybody's going to have a hard time remembering this one, do you?
The Shigiji.
Kyokusho.
Textbook.
Yes.
Oba-san,
Oba-san.
old lady grandma.
Yes. And
Okane, money.
money, okane. Right. And this is the same kanji as the kin in kinyobi, gold. So the o is left in hiragana, the kane part is written with the same kanji that means gold.
Great gold.
Yeah. So okane and kin are the same kanji. Okay, moving on. You should remember this one, I hope.
Yukuri, slowly.
Slowly, as in yukkuri itte kudasai. Remember that?
Atobe.
After, later, afterwards, after that.
Yasumi.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yasumu.
Yasumi.
So you remember yasumi meant
Yes.
a break, a rest, right, a vacation, right?
Feeding up.
Yasumu is the verb form of that same root, to rest, to take a break, to be absent, yes,
So-
that too.
You say Yasumi or Yasumas?
Yasumimasu is the verb conjugation from yasumu. And when you get a noun form like yasumi that sounds like the yasumimasu but with the mas taken off, that's a common way to create a noun out of a verb root. It's very often what's that piece where you take the mas form of a verb and take off the mas, and what's left is called a stem. And that's actually a conjugation construction that we will learn in a later chapter that gets used for various purposes. But one of the other things that happens is certain particular verbs, the stem becomes a noun. So yasumi is a noun. Tabe and nomi get paired with mono to be tabemono, nomimono, nouns. Okay, so it's a fairly common occurrence. Yasumu. So, kino yasumimashita. Yesterday I took a break. Okay?
So it's kind of like our habit of making nouns
Yeah.
Like unlimited people or something?
Yeah, so, yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah, we do what some people call verbing, take nouns and turn them into verbs. And then, Japanese, I think the process happens kind of the other direction in Japanese, that it was probably a verb first, and then they made a noun out of it.
Osieru.
Hai, to teach, osieru.
Would that work
So,
for like to
oshiemasu.
demonstrate? Or like-
It can be, yeah,
Okay.
oshiemasu. Right, so, kanji o oshiete kudasai, things like that. Okay. Kariru,
To borrow?
to borrow, yes. So, for example, hon o karimasu, to borrow a book,
Hairu. To enter.
to enter. So it's not just ofuro ni hairu, to take a bath, it's also enter as in, tosokan ni hairu, to enter the library or wherever else you might be trying to enter, hairu.
Tsukau.
Tsukao,
Go.
Use.
to use. Oh, by the way, on hairu, you may notice that the kanji looks like hito backwards.
That's without kanji, that one.
Yeah.
Did that particular
This
one?
version
Oh.
is without kanji, but if you look in your textbook, you'll see it looks like a backwards hito.
It does.
Yeah.
I just think that I hate those. I'm like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, hairu looks like hito backwards, like mirror image sort of. Tsukao means to use.
Go.
Tsukao.
Shinu.
Shinu,
To
to
die.
die.
This is such a problem with that.
Asobu.
To
Play, yes. And by the way, asobu does not have the childish connotation in Japanese that it has in English. So it's perfectly acceptable for somebody in their 20s to say that they're going to their friend's house to asobu. In English, it sounds crazy,
Well,
if
it
you,
does in the
yeah,
text.
when you're 25 years old, you do not say, hey, Mom, I'm going to my friend's house to play, in English.
Not supposed to.
Sounds weird, right? But in Japanese, asobu works perfectly well for all ages. It just means to do something for enjoyment's sake.
The textbook says to spend time pleasantly.
Yes, that's a good definition of it.
Kaisu.
Kaisu, to
Return.
return. So, kariru, kaisu. So you, hono karimasu, and then hono kareshimasu.
I like this chapter. Back to everything I can remember.
Hai.
If you didn't have hands, would it be more appropriate to pass something with your foot or your mouth? If that was all.
No idea.
Okay,
So.
I'm sorry.
The important questions.
Let's move on.
I'm sorry, that just came in.
Personal computer.
Okay.
Pasokon.
Is that one of those like weird contracted word situations?
Yes.
So-
Personal computer.
Oh.
Why can't they
Pasokon.
just make
Wasn't it
Understand.
Noto Pasocon? Was
No,
Laptop, right?
Noto is laptop.
Laptop.
Pasokon can mean desktop or just in general a computer that belongs to someone.
okay.
Yeah, it's actually good. Person.
PC
Personal
is
computer.
English. Pasokon is what they use in Japanese.
So did this
Remember, they don't necessarily look to us to find out what abbreviation we like before they come up with their own abbreviation. Hence, terebi.
No! Did they originally
Hi.
have, a longer word?
Yeah, personal computer.
Just got cut down.
Yeah. Yeah, same thing happened back in like the 80s and 90s with wapuro, wado processor. Before computers were common in Japan, a lot of people typed on wapuro, which was basically either a very sophisticated electric typewriter or a very simplified computer. It was basically just Word.
Yep.
You couldn't do anything else on it, and it had a very small screen that just showed a couple lines at a time of type, and then you could stick paper in it and have it print out almost like a typewriter. And it just had enough memory for a few documents at a time, probably. But, and of course, it upgraded itself over time, and then eventually those phased out completely because everybody could afford a computer by then. But when computers were still astronomically expensive and huge, a lot of families or workplaces used wapro for typing. And that was like an intermediate step before desktops got to be a size that fit easily on a desktop. So, nimotsu, baggage, yes, as in luggage, not emotional baggage.
How do you say that, actually?
Don't know. But nimotsu, notice the motsu part is again the same piece as mochimasu, motsu, to carry. It's the same kanji. So check that out. Denki.
Electricity.
I'll listen to the rest of it.
Hai, sugi. Sugi. Next, yes. Hai. Sorry, I was distracted. Ofuro, bad. Hai. Deru, to exit, like he just did. Deru.
Also,
Late. Also. Open, yes. Akeru is open. To debark, to deboard, to get off of a train, a plane.
Oh, I thought you said debark.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
heard debark?
I heard debark, I was thinking
Yeah.
I
like,
was like a tree.
Oh, not a tree, no, disembark might be a more than
Yeah,
a
that's-
term.
I don't know that I've ever heard debark.
Yeah, but I guess that's not that common. Okay, disembark works better.
Depart or.
Depart,
disembark.
yeah. Oriru. So we already had noru from last chapter, right? Densha ni noru, densha kara oriru. Get off the train.
Shimeru.
Shimeru, to close the door. So doa o akeru, doa o shimeru.
That's just a close
Yeah.
general, not just.
Yeah. It's not just doors, yeah, model and other things that open and close, but not books. They don't use shimeru to close your book. Hon no tojiru, I don't know why. They just use a different term. Akeru works for hon, but for close they have a different term. Go figure. Motsu, to carry, to hold. Tatsudao, no. To help. Hi, help. Suwaru, what you guys are doing. Sitting.
Oh.
Suwaru. Isogu, to be in a hurry. Yes, this is the verb. Isogimasu, to hurry up. To turn off or extinguish. So it works for electric lights, but it also works for candles and, you know, like campfires and such.
It's like, can you extinguish it right over?
Yeah. Hi.
Window.
Hi.
Page.
And this one functions like my in terms of being used like a counting word. So you use it to identify which page you're on within a book or something. But as far as the structure, it's slightly different, but it still gets counted as being like a measure word.
Can you use it singular, like alone?
Yeah.
Like, just the, like.
Yeah, well, and you can actually use it in both ways now I think about it. So, you can say like, 102ページを見てください. Please look at page 102. Or you could also say, for example, ページを4枚読みました. I read 4 pages.
So you could pair that with like non-pagey to be what page?
Yeah, 何ページですか? What page is it? Yeah.
Densha, train.
はい. And this is literally electric vehicle, so it is generally referring to electric trains as opposed to steam locomotives.
Shower.
Showa, obvious, right? And
Kanji.
kanji, also
Even
obvious.
more obvious.
Hi.
Speaking of kanji.
Hi, speaking of kanji. Okay. Anybody remember
Time to
to look at the kanji?
I did not. South?
I made
Hai,
cards.
minami, south. Hai, this one is gofun. 5 minutes, yes, gofun, 5 minutes. Yes.
Sensei.
Hai.
I thought you were pointing to your nose and.
No, that's how Japanese people point to themselves. They
Oh,
point
yeah,
to their
you
nose.
would- you would-
I was
Sensei.
like, head first, what?
The
Hi.
second one is like life.
Yeah, this is the sen from senshu
Okay.
before, and this is to be born or life or living. And so a more literal explanation of sensei is one who was born before and is therefore presumably older and wiser than oneself. Therefore, it's a term of respect because in Japanese society, greater age earns greater respect.
Is there a different kanji for, what was it, kyoshi? Or,
Kyoshi, yeah,
Was there a different one for-
instructor, yeah.
okay,
Kyoshi uses this, I believe it's the same kyo that's in kyokaso,
okay.
which means like education. And then the shi in kyoshi, I believe, is one that Chinese uses for instructors as well.
Okay,
Sensei doesn't usually get used in Chinese for instructor. It actually has come to mean sir or mister
okay.
in Chinese, but in Japanese they use it gender neutral for teachers and other respected people.
Daigakuse.
Hi. Should be obvious, right? Now you got
Study board?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the student one is.
Yeah. Daigakuse. Hi. Yeah. North exit.
Oh.
So it's mouth in a more abstract sense, as an opening. So kitaguchi. Kitaguchi is a north exit, like from a train station, for example. Very practical. Almost every deguchi, which is an exit, in Japan, in train stations in particular, they tend to be labeled as Kitaguchi, north exit, Minamiguchi, south exit, et cetera, depending on where it lets out. And that gives you some sense of orientation because subway and train stations are so frequently either underground or really huge and enclosed. So until you get out of that maze, it's hard to know where you are, but if you're going out the Kitaguchi, at least you have some idea that you're on the north end of the station. Okay, so deguchi is an exit. If you are in a movie theater and you see a backlit sign with these kanji, now you know what that is. Deguchi, exit. And it's used in like emergency exit signs too. Hi.
Hida.
Hi. Hidari. Yep, that one. And Nishi. West. Right. So Nishi is west. Higashi is east. And you'll note that Nishi kind of looks like Yon a little bit, but with an extra piece on top, right? And Higashi, break it down, you've got a sun coming up behind a tree. It's like an illustration of east, right?
Oh.
If you think about the tree being east of you and it's sunrise, you know? So I think that one's one of the easiest ones to learn because of that, Higashi.
How can you make the list that the sun going down?
Because how would you tell the difference?
I don't even know. You could not use a tree.
Rotate the sun or put the.
Put Yama inside, it's
Yeah.
going behind a mountain.
They didn't think of that.
North.
Yes, Kita, north. It's also the in Hokkaido,
So Tohoku is literally just north and east.
east. Yes,
Okay,
yeah, east-north, Tohoku.
Like, keep the
east
Yama.
north.
Kitayama could be, yeah, northern mountain. Right.
Gaikokuji.
Hi, Gaikokujin, all of us. from Japan's perspective, right? This is literally outside, country, person. So, gaikokuji. It gets a pronunciation shift, so it becomes jippun or jippun, depending on your preference. Jippun or jippun are the two possible spellings for this, but it's 10 minutes. Right?
学生、
はい。
students。
はい。
Meeting.
はい。Yes, south exit, which is red. Minamiguchi. はい。Minamiguchi. Nishiguchi, which is the west exit, and again, very useful in train stations.
大学。
Daigaku, where we are.
Okay.
Oki. Notice the second reading. O, spelled O-O, right? From oki, here's the kanji for oki. Notice that on e adjectives, at the minimum, the final e hangs off the end, but on many of them, more than one hiragana hang off the end and are not embedded in the kanji. Okay, so oki. This is the same O that's in Osaka also, the place name. Big hill. Hai, higashiguchi. Hai, higashiguchi. And deru,
To exit.
to exit. Hai, and
外国。
foreign country, yes. Outside country, foreign country. Any country other than Japan, Japanese would call gaikoku.
中国。
China, yes, Chugoku. And notice it's Middle Kingdom. Because from their perspective in ancient times, they saw themselves as being the only civilized country surrounded by a pack of barbarians. So they named themselves the Middle Kingdom.
Why isn't it Naka-goku?
What's that?
Isn't Naka middle?
Chu is another reading for Naka.
Okay.
Would it be like the Chinese reading?
Yes. Yeah, Chu is from the Chinese pronunciation and Naka is an original Japanese reading.
Okay.
So, yeah, so Chu Goku. Even the Goku part is a Chinese reading, even though it's two syllables. Chu Goku. Hoku and Goku are considered onyomi for the kanji, whereas kuni would be the kunyomi. Okay, so
Kun
now
is the kunyomi
for country, yeah. So, okay, now I want us to talk about te form. Okay, te form no kisoku. So notice I wrote it all in Japanese on purpose. Challenge you guys to read some more. So te form no kisoku. Kisoku means rules. Okay, so this is just sort of an outline, and we're going to talk about it as I highlight things, so that will help on your YouTube video also. So, ru doshi, doshi means verbs. So, ru doshi, the ru verbs, very easy. Drop the ru and change it to te. So, re meaning example, taberu, tabete. Okay, so that's the easy stuff, right? Basically, it's the same treatment that Moss Farm gets, right? Drop the ru and add the new relevant piece, right?
So would suru be shite?
Yes, but we'll get to that in a minute. We're going to do
it's
the
regular,
yeah, because it's irregular. So those are the ru verbs. Udoshi, u verbs, are the next category I made. Notice that u verbs that end in ru are in this first category, u, tsu, ru. So u verbs that end in either u or tsu or ru follow the rule of dropping that final hiragana and adding small tsu, te in its place. Okay, so au changes to atte, matsu, matte, toru, totte. Make sense? Okay, so those are examples there. Mubunu is what I sometimes call the nasal category because they're all nasal sounds, right? Mubunu. And then nde, it converts to another kind of nasal. So it converts to n and then de instead of te. Because de is more nasal sounding than te, right? So, yomu, yonde, asobu, asonde, shinu, shinde.
That was the worst
Okay.
song I've ever written. It just looks like stupid.
Okay, so that's the mubunu category. Ku and gu have a very similar pattern, so I grouped them. So ku changes to ite, and then gu does the same thing, but the 10-10 also transfers. Okay, and the 10-10 can't go on the i, so there's only one place to stick it, on the te, and that's why it becomes de. Make sense? So ku ite, gu ide. Okay, so kaku, kaite, isogu, isoide. Also note, iku is an exception. I labeled it tokubetsu na keisu. And I'm actually going to furigana that tokubetsu. If you guys don't already know how to do that, this is very easy to do. You can just go up to this thing of here, and you can add furigana to any kanji that you type.
Okay.
Okay, so tokubetsu na keisu, iku, itte. Okay, so it follows the red rule up here, which is why I highlighted in red, but I put it under the kugu section, since your first thought would be to expect it to follow the same rule as the other kus, right? So that's a special exception. It's the only special exception out of all the verbs. Yay! Okay, and then our final category of u verbs is su changes to shite. So, hanasu, hanashite. Okay,
So it's not shite, it's shite? Okay.
hanashite, hanashite. It's not shite and it's not shite, it's shite.
Right, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, hanashite, hanashite. Okay, and I hope you guys can see this better than I can. I tried to pick orange, but it came out more yellow. So, can everybody read this? Hi. So, irregular verbs, right? So, suru changes to shite, and my example de is benkyou suru, benkyou shite. I did that on purpose because I wanted you to realize that it's not just the base verb suru that changes to shite, but also anytime it's part of a compound, like benkyou suru, it still conjugates the same way. The benkyou stays static, only the suru changes to shite. Make sense? And then kuru, kite, same deal. So, re, motte kuru, motte kite. Okay, and notice that motte goes back to this rule here because its original form is motsu. So motsu, motte, and then making it into a compound verb like motte kite, motte kuru is one of the functions that tense form allows you to do. It allows you to make compound verbs. Okay? And then this is just an example sentence using te kudasai. Okay, watashi ni kanji o oshiete kudasai. Can everybody guess what that means?
Can you please show me the kanji?
Please teach me kanji. Yes. Okay, and it could be that particular kanji, or it could be just kanji in general. It doesn't say in this particular example sentence. It's just, please teach me kanji. Oshiete kudasai. And that oshieru is one of your new vocabulary words that is also a ru verb. So that's why I conjugated to oshiete.
So, kudasai.
Hai.
So it contains
That stop.
So is that like a humbling kind of use of
Yes, it
wonder?
is.
Okay.
Yeah, very good. So yes, kudasai doesn't have to be written in kanji, but it's actually faster to write the kanji. And why not? You already know that kanji, so you can if you want to. If you want to spell it out, that's fine too. A lot of Japanese people don't bother to write that one in kanji anymore, for whatever reason. But it's a very simple to write kanji that you've already studied. So that's why I went ahead and put it in, but I also put the furigana just in case you got confused. Okay, and then hatsuon no renshu means pronunciation practice. And I put a couple of trios here that people sometimes have trouble with. All 6 of these are real words. So let's practice pronouncing them. Kite, kitte, kite, shite, shite, shite. Okay? Yeah. So all 3 of those in each set are different verbs. Shite comes from kuru, right? Kitte comes from kiru, to cut. Okay? Kiite comes from kiku, to listen or ask, right? Shite comes from suru. Shite comes from shiru, which is to know. And shite comes from shiku, to spread out like a sheet, like making a bed.
So, oshiete would be like, is that like a,
Oshiete is a ru verb.
I mean, okay,
Yeah, osieru.
oshiete,
Yeah, so completely different.
okay.
But these sets are for pronunciation purposes because so many times people have a hard time pronouncing properly. Kite, kitte, kiite. So, I want you to hear and practice all 3. Same thing with shite, shite, shite. Okay, and that is all on your recording too, so you can listen back to it as many times as you need to. いいですか? じゃあ練習しましょう。
I wasn't sure what to do to write down for these, so I just didn't do it.
Okay, so let's practice them together. Okay, so let's see, goes in, finished to that point. Let's see how far we get. Okay, so 窓を開けてください. Let's start with 156ページ1のパート A. ヘンさん、例を読んでください. The example.
起きる、起きて。
はい。そうですね。
食べる、食べて、
はい。食べて。はい。
For sure, you guys get the root verbs.
はい。
Let's see, so,
Here, I'll scroll back up to where it can give you a hint. どうぞ。
買って、
はい。顔立って
読んで
読んで。はい。読んで。Remember that it's a de. はい。
書く、書いて、
はい。
来る、and it was いて、
来て。
or 来て。
来て。
What am I,
来て。
what was it? Okay, 来て。
来て。来て。But the emphasis is more on the te. 来て。来て。来て。
待つ、待って。
はい。
遊ぶ、遊んで、
はい。
取る
Oh,
取って。はい。取って。with a small two in it. はい。
する、して、
して。はい。10番。
sorry, I was, so that's, いそ、つぶ、and that would be いそ、で。
Iso what? Iso, follow the rule that's on the screen.
急いで。
はい、急いで。
行く、
Oh my gosh, I'm
あ
sorry. It just
行っ
clicked.
て、
行っ exception. はい。
寝る、寝て、
はい、寝て。はい
死ぬ、死んで、
死んで。はい。
話す、なんで、
話す follows the Su rule, which is on the board now.
Oh, it's, 話して。
はい、話して。話す、話して。
So,
帰る。
okay, so just, 帰って。
はい、書いて. And yeah, it's important that you get the small su in there. 書いて. Okay. Did anybody listen to the Teform song yet?
I didn't know I was supposed to do it.
I didn't
Okay.
know how to write anything down, so we're just kind of like, I'll do that later.
Okay. I don't have it queued up, unfortunately, but we can read through it together. Does anybody know the tune well enough to sing it? Yeah.
I know the rhythm. I know.
Yeah, so, yeah, it literally goes like, あって待つ待って取る取って読む読んで遊ぶ遊んで死ぬ死んで書く書いて消す消して急ぐ急いでみんな奪うテフォーム
Do we actually have to try to sing it?
No, you don't have to. Yeah.
not till the
Just
OPI.
gonna drop it down to very white level.
Yeah. So anyway, so if you look at it though, verse 1 is giving you the same examples that were in the textbook, right? 青あって待つ待って取る取って読む読んで遊ぶ遊んで死ぬ死んで書く書いて消す消して急ぐ急いで Okay, so they split the ku and gu apart and put the su in between, I think just because it fit better with the tune. But all the examples are there, right? And then the second verse is just showing you the rule. Utsuru te mubu nu nde ku ite gu ide and then su shite. Right?
Are you gonna make us remember this for the
No.
side? Okay. No, so Sandlin, he's like, yeah, you're gonna have to be able to sing this.
Oh, he is so full of
Okay.
it.
Okay. That was like last semester, he told me that
Yeah.
like my first week in class, and he's like, yeah, you'll have to be able to do this.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, he was just trying to
Okay.
Scary.
scare you,
out.
play with your
What
mind.
is happening? Whose is this? What is going on? Like, I keep,
That's yours.
no, I'm serious, like
It's
hair, I
yours
pulled,
now.
that's 3 hairs. I pulled one out of here, I don't know what's happening. No,
Is that what you were
no
thinking
cat has
when you
hair
were
that
biting?
long. Just
Okay,
let's
guys,
go on, I'm
okay,
sorry.
let's move on. Okay, so the point of the song is to help you remember how to convert the te forms from their dictionary forms. If it helps you, great, use it. If it doesn't help you, you don't have to use it, okay? The point is that no matter how annoying the tune or the song, sometimes just the fact that it is a tune makes it stick in your head better.
So this doesn't actually translate into the battle hymn.
Of course not. It's just using that tune
Okay.
because it was what they could come up with that fit.
Okay.
So I had a different textbook years ago that used O Christmas Tree, O Tannenbaum, as the tune for their Teform song. It's a difficult enough set of rules to memorize that people try to come up with a mnemonic for it. And the song sticks in your head, and I distinctly remember some of my high school kids sitting there, taking their final exam, singing O Tannenbaum under their breath to help themselves remember their Teforms.
I did that in math, because my
Yeah.
math teacher, to teach us the quadrant equation,
Yeah,
she used,
she used the tune.
a tune.
Yeah, so let's move on again,
I'm sorry.
and
So
that's
on
okay.
homework, we don't have to do anything for that part?
Yeah, there's really nothing to do there, just
I was like, what do I do?
listen to it.
I did.
Okay, just listen to it, and if it helps you, you can listen to it until you've got it memorized, so that you can actually sing it to help yourself remember the the conversions.
I probably just.
If it doesn't help you memorize the conversions, then there's no point. Okay, so let's see, kaeru, Ken did kaeru, right? So, 例を読んでください。
日本語を話してください。
はい。So that's what we mentioned before. Please speak Japanese. 日本語を話してください。じゃあ1番。
立ってください。
はい。
聞いてください。
Make sure your pronunciation.
Oh, yeah, I was kind of reading this one. 聞いてください。
はい。That's the one. 聞いてください。はい。
本を読んでください。
はい。
I was not proud of this.
Do you remember the verb to look, to see,
Was it-
to watch?
Was it yoru? No, not yoru.
No.
Miru was
Yeah,
to
miru
watch.
is to
so
look,
just
so-
watashi o mi. Oh god.
Yeah. 私を
Mi. Okay, so it's a root verb. So mite.
見て、
Okay.
見てください。
Mite kudasai,
Hi.
please. Okay.
Yeah. So 私を見てください。
Okay.
はい。
Yeah,
That's
I
it.
was very big.
はい。私を見てください。はい。Please look at me. はい。
教科書を Okay, so, 入れてくる
Thank you. I skipped.
Oh, oh, 持ってくりて
Motte, and then kuru changes to 来て。
持ってきて
持ってきて
ください。
はい、持ってきてください。If you look at to bring, the irregular verbs list is where it shows up. 持ってきてください。持ってくる、持ってきて。Okay, so 持ってきてください。教科書を持ってきてください。はい。
漢字を教えてください。
はい、that was my example sentence. はい。
本を返してください。
はい。本を返してください。And if you wanted to, you could change that to 私の本を返してください。If you wanted to be more specific. はい。
ゆっくり話してください。
はい、話してください。So notice that the phrase that we had learned before was ゆっくり言ってください. That kind of has a connotation of that one particular thing you just said, say it slower please. But ゆっくり話してください is more of a general request, like just in general, please speak slowly so that I can understand it all. はい。
Kudu was come, right?
はい。
Alright, okay, so, watashi, would that be me? Watashi?
私
Oh. or-
with.
Oh, to?
はい。
Watashi to, oh my gosh. Watashi to kite, or kite, was it okuda? No, kite kudasai.
来てください。
Yeah, watashi.
It's not 切って、it's not 聞いて。
Yeah, yeah,
it's
kite kudasai.
来てください。
Yes,
来
I
て
was
くだ
just,
さい。
in my mind, I was
Right.
thinking we're going
Be
someplace, but we're doing it
careful, yeah,
together.
be careful of your emphasis. You're still putting
Yeah.
not enough emphasis
Oh,
on the
in my
ten.
mind, I was,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, just-
kite
just-
kudasai.
来てください。
Yes.
来てください。Say it again. 来て。
Kite kudasai.
はい、来てください。はい。The
I was pausing.
the emphasis is more on the te, not the ki.
Sorry, I
来
wasn't
てください。
focusing
来
on
てください。
明日、私に電話をかけてください。
はい。明日私に電話をかけてください。はい。
友達を連れてきてください。
はい、連れてきてください。いいですね。Any questions about those? はい。
Is it possible to like give someone like a command with like T form and like not use kudasai?
Yeah, dropping kudasai change is into more of a casual request. Like if your friend is the one you're asking to do something for you, you can drop kudasai, and it, so for example, you're eating dinner together and you want them to pass the salt, totte would be like, take it and give it to me, so, totte, or like, call me tomorrow, ashita denwa kakete, okay,
Like an authority figure giving a command that it would.
there are different conjugations for that
Okay.
purpose. Yeah, there are a bunch of different conjugations that we never even touch on in this textbook because there are just too many of them. One of the things that Tofugu site was saying about this textbook is it just gives you a limited amount of information. It doesn't go into every possible permutation of something because it wants you to just get enough for functionality at your current level, and then it gives you the next step up and the next step up. But once you've completed this book and the next book, you're going to want probably a more in-depth grammar reference to learn other grammar structures that these books don't introduce, just because it would be too overwhelming. If they taught you every command structure available to you now, you wouldn't remember any of it because there are too many different conjugations.
I see.
Okay, so they're just giving you one piece at a time. Tef form is enough to deal with right now, and then they're going to teach you several of the different uses for Tef form in this chapter, and several more uses for Tef form in the next chapter. And then going forward, they're going to teach us a few other constructions that also have a variety of uses. And then every subsequent chapter, they'll be like, oh, and here's another thing you can do with Tef form, or here's another thing you can do with STEM, because we taught you STEM last chapter, or here's another thing you can do with short forms, because we cover short forms in lessons 8 and 9. So it's, they're trying to not overwhelm you.
Is the TEF form like the most complicated of the grammar in Japanese?
It is one of the most complicated things for a while.
Okay.
Yeah, and once you've got Tef form, it opens up lots of doors, because like I said, casual request, kudasai requests, and half a dozen other uses that they're going to teach just in the next couple chapters, not even counting other things that they're going to teach us later on. And, after you get through this chapter, rewatch a favorite old Japanese film or TV show, and you'll find that you understand things that you missed before. Do that again after chapters 8 and 9, and that even opens up more doors, because that's when we learn casual speech. And once you've got casual speech and short forms, that opens up like probably 80% of anime verbs.
It's funny
because they use casual so much
Yeah.
in those programs.
I'll watch anime now, and I catch words. I'm like, ha! I know that. I know what
Yeah.
that is.
Yeah, we're out of time, but
I don't understand like the middle of it.
Yeah, you can't understand anything, but I just catch like words.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know that.
There was a
I know that.
YouTube video
Except
about
so many random words.
a man
This
who
was
met
very
like